Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our regular meeting scheduled for August 23rd, 2021. At this time, I would like to call our meeting to order. And we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Jasper,
At this time, I will look for a motion to approve the agenda. You've all gotten the agenda earlier in the week, had time to review it. Anybody would like to make
So
that?
moved.
Thank you, Mr. Swanberg, and thank you, Mr. Sullivan. It's been, motion's been made, it's been seconded. Any discussion, comments, concerns? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, moving on to presentations. At this time, we have Ms. Sarah, is it Burton?
Correct.
Okay, with the Ridgeview ambulance, and you're going to give us an annual update. Welcome tonight.
Correct. Well, thank you, Mayor and Council and Jasper, for this time. I'll make this nice and short and sweet for you guys. I should probably do an introduction since I haven't met any of you before. My name is Sarah Burton. I took over for Mark Anderson back in January. So I've been supervising over the Sueur since then. No major issues, thankfully, knock on wood, right? Because of the time that I kind of came into play and with COVID going on in 2020, instead of doing like a full year January to January report, I actually did this, as you can tell, from August of 20 to May of 21. And it's just a better reflection of the kind of better current numbers, if you will, because of COVID numbers were just skewed data, right? So as you can see on that first page there, in that time frame, we had 541 calls, which seems to be down a little bit, but it's not, because remember, we're 2 months short from a full year on this. We average here about 650 calls a year, and we're still kind of tracking for that same numbers. Out of that 541 total calls, we had 487 total patients seen. So obviously the difference between that 541 to 487 is cancels. We never made patient contact. And out of the 487 patients seen, we had 428 of which we transported to a hospital. On the next slide, you'll see the number of code 3 calls. So we had 184 BLS ambulance responses, which average time was 10.15 minutes, and 90 chase car responses, which the average time was 5.2 minutes. The difference in numbers, because you're going, well, how come we had like 487 calls and this looks like 100 or 200 calls, is the fact that some of our calls are transfers. It's like interfacility, hospital to hospital stuff or hospital to home. The next one is our destination numbers. You can see that obviously we still primarily use the hospital here in town as our from home to a hospital. A couple of other hospitals that we frequent would be in Mankato, Ridgeview, Waconia, New Prague, and River's Edge. And then transfers out of our LMC would be number 1 is Mankato, number 2 to Ridgeview, 3 to Rochester, 4 to Abbott, and 5 to Hennepin. And just as kind of a nice reminder, it's amazing how much time some of these EMTs and first responders put into a service. 11,604 hours, which is a pretty amazing number when you think of it. That's in 10 months. So any questions at all?
Anybody at all? Your 15 EMTs are those all full-time positions, part-time?
No, they're all on call.
All on call.
Yep.
Thank you.
But one of those is a paramedic, too. So that makes some difference in that, amount as well. So it's almost like getting free ALS extra on the side at night and on weekends.
Right.
Very lucky in this community.
So is your
to have that.
staff pretty full then with the
Yes.
numbers you have?
Yep. We have now open shifts.
Good. Any other questions? If not, Ms. Burton, thank you for your time. We appreciate the update, and
You're
thank
welcome.
you for all the good work and service your company does.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Nice to meet you all. Have a good night.
This time we'll move on to the consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda are considered routine and have been made available to the city council at least 2 days in advance of the meeting. The item will be enacted in one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or citizen so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the agenda and considered in normal sequence. Mr. Krugel, you want to be so kind as to review these with us?
Thank you, Mayor Kirby, members of City Council. We have the minutes from the previous meeting on August 9th for approval tonight. We have disbursement approvals through today. Those totaled just over $440,000. A couple to note is one, South Main Engineering, that's related to the CASA 36 project next year, starting some engineering there. And making some progress payments. Deere and Company rotary cutter, that is a pull behind lawnmower for the airport, of which is 100% reimbursed through the FFA entitlement program. So we'll be receiving a reimbursement of $30,000 for that. And then Aspen Equipment is for the snowplow truck box. So there was a chassis that was purchased and that box was installed and paid for, or will be paid for if this is approved. Next, we have a resolution accepting the work for the Highway 112 distribution project. This is related to the electric conversion along that kind of South Elm, South CASA 22 area. We have the Comprehensive Plan Action Team dissolution. This was recommended by the Planning Commission, I believe last month, after they had a discussion about that. We have a parking lot use request for the parking lots to the west of City Hall by the library for a food truck kind of festival that a local citizen is planning to put on in either September or October, requesting use of that parking lot for that event. We have RPAC appointment consideration. Miss Rosemary Goggins has applied for RPAC. There currently are 2 vacancies on that commission or that committee, and Rosie has applied for one of those. And then the residential electric service conversion policy. We have a rebate program of which we've reached out to, I think, 85 or 86 individuals that have been identified that could be converted. Of that, I think around 15 to 16 have already converted. And what the plan is now is just to convert with projects and pick away some of these underground conversion projects instead of the rebate program. So those are the items on consent. I will entertain any questions if there are any.
Anybody, any questions, concerns?
The food truck. Just
Yeah, so the food truck is from Pete Shepner. They're opening, or their son is opening Luke's Cafe. I'm not sure if this is a coordinated event or if this is just some sort of community event that they're trying to establish. And yeah, it's very minimal cost to the city, and yeah, it'd be a good deal.
Just curious. Is that an event in the future? Maybe we could do on Main Street potentially?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, if you remember to the way Main Street was designed, we have adequate electric receptacles and things like that, and kind of areas designated for food trucks. So we can do that in the future on that stretch once that's opened.
Very good. If there's no other questions, I'll accept any motions at this time.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan.
second.
Thank you, Mr. Schleter. It's been, motion's been made by Mr. Sullivan, seconded by Mr. Schleter. Any other comments, concerns? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Very good. Moving on to public comment. Public comment provides an opportunity for the public to address the council on items that are not on the agenda. Comments will be limited to 5 minutes per person. Persons wishing to make a comment must sign up in advance of the meeting on the sheet provided and identify themselves by providing a name and an address. And I think at this time, I don't believe we have anybody signed up. So thank you very much. And with that said, we will then move on to the regular agenda, which is the Sueur 2019 sidewalk project payment, regular agenda item 7A. Do you want to brief us a little on that, Mr. Krugel?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Kirby, members of City Council. As you're likely aware, we had a major sidewalk project occur in 2019, and we finally are ready to close it out in 2021. There was some warranty work and some things related to sod and boulevard that we needed to get finalized. As a reminder, this project is run through the county. So what we're really doing today is potentially looking at accepting the work, and then basically saying, yep, the I think it's $61,000 we're okay with. And then eventually what you'll see is an invoice from the county, and I'll go into that a little bit. So we're not actually approving any expenditures coming from us tonight. It's really just approving the work that's been done. So the contractor was Tyzac Concrete. They're out of La Center. They were the only bidder. What we had to do is we had to actually go back to MnDOT and say, MnDOT, bids came in higher than what we anticipated. Can you assist? And if they weren't able to assist, we likely would have not done the project and rejected the bids, but they came back and they covered the difference between the engineer's estimate and the actual bid. So good partnership with MnDOT, county, and the city to get 15 blocks of sidewalks replaced, which is pretty significant. This is tied to the Safe Routes to School plan that we had and that we did, I believe, in 2016. Kind of tying all those things, those planning documents to actual work on the ground. So very good project. If you've used that area, those sidewalks are in pretty rough shape. So everything's been completed to date, all the warranty work, the punch list work, that's all done. Final cost breakdown for those 15 blocks, the construction costs were $1,156,330.95. There were a couple change orders. The sodding, if you remember, we had some difficulty growing grass, or the contractor did, and we changed some of those from seed and blanket to sod, which this summer has been pretty rough on some of that new sod. And then the total Transportation Alternatives Program funding through MnDOT was $858,138. So a pretty significant portion of that project was funded through that TAP grant. And then what our costs have been for construction and engineering are estimated right at about $430,000, and what we had budgeted is $450,000. So we came in what we consider under budget a little bit on this. So good things, because some of these projects, they, with some change orders and things like that we've done, can kind of, come in differently than what we appear to do. So the project went fairly well. It just took a little while to close it out. So what we're recommending, there's a resolution in your packet, resolution R 2021-034, accepting the work for the City of Le Sueur 2019 sidewalk project and approval of the final payment by Le Sueur County in the amount of $61,046.55. So I will entertain any questions you may have about this item. Thanks.
Mr. Mayor, I have a quick question.
Yes.
Why is the amount not stated in the resolution? You have it up there, but it's not in this resolution. Shouldn't we have it in there? I just caught this. It would read something like final payment on such contract in the amount of $61,046.55.
Does it have the total on there?
Doesn't have any amount.
Okay.
No amount in the resolution.
And if I may, I think it's we can definitely add it in if we want to as a city council. I think it's mostly because we're not actually paying it, but the county is. But we can definitely add it in as one of the now therefore be it resolved by the mayor and city council, add a number 3 and add the total if you feel that's appropriate. We could do that.
Wouldn't this be added the number 2 after the second line, final payment on such contract, and then in the amount of?
Sure. Yeah.
It strikes me if you're having a resolution to pay something, you ought to have an amount, even though we're not paying it. Mr. Mayor, if I may, I'll
Please,
be glad to
please,
make a motion.
please do.
It would be as stated in the packet in item number 2 at the beginning of the second line. It begins with final payment on such contract, and the words would be added in the amount of $61,046.55.
Including it'd be resolution 2021-034.
Right.
That wasn't mentioned, yes.
Right.
Okay. Very good. You want to repeat that motion?
Sure, it would be I would move the motion as stated in the packet, adding in item number 2, after the words final payment on such contract in the amount of $61,046.55.
Okay, motion's been made on R 2021-034. The amount is up there in front of everybody. Thank you for your motion, Mr. Krogman. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Any other discussion, comments, concerns? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Very good. Motion's been made. Moving on to comments, reports, items of appreciation as far as committees that you're a part of, any community events. This is your chance to share it with us. This is your platform. And at this time, we'll start with Council Member Krogman.
I don't have, what happened to the item on personnel?
Oh, so, go ahead.
Yes.
Address that.
Sorry. I requested that be removed from the agenda. Sorry, so that there is no 7B tonight.
Okay, 7B has been removed from the agenda. That takes us again to comments, reports of appreciation. Back to you again.
Thank you. I don't have anything. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Lozey. Nothing, 0 for 2. Councilmember Mahoney.
I don't have any reports on our PAC or Planning Commission, but I did want to make an announcement that we will be leaving the community of Sueur, and our house was listed for sale today. And I did all send you a letter at the end of last week informing you of that ahead of time. It wasn't easy for me to send that letter. I thought about it for a really long time, and I greatly appreciate the opportunity that was given to me to serve on this council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Mahoney. We've enjoyed having you on this council, and you're going to continue to work with us for a little while yet until you leave the community. But we appreciate all the work you've done thus far, and we're going to miss you. So,
Thank you.
all right. Moving on to Councilmember Schlueter.
One item, HRA, we had a meeting last Wednesday. We looked through 4 applicants for the new director position. We selected one to be interviewed, and the interview is going to take place Thursday morning at 9:30. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Down to Councilmember Sullivan.
Nothing to report.
Nothing. Councilmember Swanberg.
Nothing at this time.
Thank you. Mayor Kirby, I have nothing to report at this time. Back to the sidewalks real quick. I want to tell you, Jasper, everything's looking nice with those sidewalks. They've been in there a couple of years. Roads are looking good. Just a little reminder to all of our residents that those boulevards, I've had a few complaints about weeds and things. Those are not our responsibility, but the residents' responsibility to take care of those. I know it's been a rough year with the weeds and things, but if you could just kind of maintain or try to keep those down, we'd really appreciate it. Other than that, that's all I have. Mr. Krugel, you have anything you want to share?
Just briefly, we have a MMPA meeting tomorrow that I believe Newell and I'll probably be attending virtually. Newell will likely be there in person. Our finance director, Joe Roby, will be presenting at Rotary tomorrow afternoon as well. So getting him out there, a lot of people already know him, but getting him out there in his new position as the finance director. We have a personnel and budget committee meeting on Thursday at 10 a.m. to kind of continue the budget discussion. We had a Sueur Community Center Task Force meeting last week, and that went pretty well. I think we had 18 people in attendance. So I think the first one we had 10 and we had 18, and then the next one will be scheduled likely sometime end of September, early October. So we'll keep that moving along. And the mayor and I had a good conversation with the superintendent on Friday of last week too. So we were kind of talking about the referendum. There will be a future city council ISD joint meeting. There's going to be a couple of, it sounds like 3 public meetings about the referendum. Likely in there will be a meeting between the 2 boards. So look forward to that.
So
that's all I have.
Thank you. With that said, I will at this time entertain a vote for a dismissal of this meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Very good. Thank you.
You're going for the record, aren't you?
I didn't think it was too
Yeah,
bad.
19 minutes.
You had 19, and that's atomic time. That's why.
That's atomic time. Yeah.